Apple, who is not at all gripped by wanderlust, it's just the name of the event, unveiled 4 new iPhones today, which bring with them some interesting new material choices, as well as adding some new features, upgrading others, and removing some. Let's get into it. This is an iPhone 15, and this is an iPhone 15 Plus, and they look practically identical to their respective predecessors from the back. So let's flip around and see the front, because that's where a significant change is. I'm pointing this out because the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus now have the dynamic island introduced on the iPhone 14 Pro. Now let's get to the price. The iPhone 15, like the iPhone 14 that came before it, starts at $800 for a 120GB model and goes up to $1,100 for a 512GB model. The iPhone 15 Plus, also like the iPhone 14 Plus that came before it, starts at $900 for a 120GB model and goes up to $1,200 for a 512GB model. Pre-orders for both models will begin on September the 15th, and they'll be available on the 22nd. They both come in 5 different colors, those being black, blue, which in my eye is lighter than the iPhone 14's blue, green, which is more akin to the iPhone 12's green, yellow, and pink. Now, let me know what you think about the colors in the comments below. Let's get to the specs. Both devices use the A16 Bionic that debuted in the iPhone 14 Pro, and get a 48 megapixel main camera with a quad pixel sensor and 100% focus pixels for fast autofocus. The main camera also gives users a new 24 megapixel super high resolution default. The portrait, night, action modes, and live photos have all been improved. The front camera even features autofocus and portrait lighting, enhancing the experience further. With the 40 megapixel sensor, the option of a 2x zoom is present, which just takes the centermost portion of the sensor. Additionally, the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus get Smart HDR5. Both models will not only support the emergency SOS feature introduced on the iPhone 14 series, but also a new satellite-based roadside assistance service, which is exclusive to users in the United States. It aids users experiencing car issues in areas without cell or Wi-Fi coverage, and with the service, you can contact AAA for assistance regardless of membership status. And this service will be complimentary for iPhone 15 users for the first 2 years, while regular AAA members will include this in their membership. Not to mention, both models have OLED displays, although the iPhone 14 series also has an OLED display, but the one in both the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus has a brightness of 1600 nits and a peak brightness of 2000 nits when in direct sunlight. And also, the back glass is infused with the colors I mentioned earlier, and that adds a touch of vibrancy to its appearance. Additionally, the glass is strengthened through a unique dual ion exchange process, making it more durable, and it's also polished using nanocrystalline particles, which make the surface smooth and give it a lustrous finish. And finally, it's etched to create a texture matte finish. Now, other additions include a second generation ultra-wideband chip, which allow for 2 or more phones with the same chip to connect at 3 times the range as before. This also improves the precision of the Find My feature. And now, both devices, also feature voice isolation, which filter out background noise to enhance audio clarity. And finally, Both devices are switching Apple's proprietary Lightning port out for a USB Type-C port because a law in the European Union that goes into effect late next year requires electronics makers to adopt USB Type-C as a universal charging standard. However, in the case of the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus and their data transfer speeds, the USB-C port used on those devices is a USB 2 port, which would mean lightning speeds. Now this is the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The bezels are noticeably smaller, but the screen sizes are otherwise the same. But something you'll notice upon picking it up is it's pretty light, and that's because it uses grade 5 titanium rather than stainless steel, which you got in the iPhone 10 through the iPhone 14 Pro. The titanium is not only lighter, but also sturdier and more resistant to corrosive forces. You will notice that the side rails are polished with a brushed finish. You will also notice the lack of a mute switch, which Apple has replaced with a programmable action button like the action button on the Apple Watch Ultra. It will work as a mute switch by default, but can be assigned different shortcuts. Pricing for the iPhone 15 Pro, like the iPhone 14 Pro that came before, starts at $1,000 for a 120GB model and goes up to $1,500 for a 1TB model. However, pricing for the iPhone 15 Pro Max is different because the 120GB model has been dropped entirely. Now it starts at $1,200 for a 256GB model and goes up to $1,600 for a 1TB model. Both models will be available for pre-order September the 15th and will be officially available September the 22nd. As far as colors go, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are available in 4 colors: black titanium, white titanium, blue titanium, and natural titanium. The iPhone 15 Pro, unlike the iPhone 15, uses a new chip, the A17 Pro, which Apple says has the fastest performance in any smartphone and can even challenge some high-end PCs. Along with a redesigned GPU, Apple is probably thinking that these devices could be poised to level up the kinds of games you play on your phone. Though Apple likes to talk a lot about high-end gaming, and the results don't always keep up. As for the camera, Apple says the 15 Pro and Pro Max have their best camera yet, the equivalent of 7 distinct lenses. This includes an upgraded 48-megapixel camera that supposedly takes better low-light photos, captures less lens flare, and uses Apple's AI systems to take full-resolution, high-efficiency photos. The default lens can be changed, and you can shoot at multiple focal lengths, those being 24mm, 28mm, and 35mm focal lengths, all within the main camera. On the 15 Pro Max, you get a 5x optical zoom lens, which is the most that Apple has ever offered, with a 120mm focal length. As far as video goes, you can now shoot 4K 60 ProRes video on the devices, or you can shoot directly to an external drive through USB-C, if you have the right cable. The 15 Pro can also capture quote-unquote spatial video, using both the main sensor and the ultra-wide lens, which is the kind of 3D content we've been seeing for the Vision Pro, though that's coming later this year. And on the topic of wired connectivity, both the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max have a USB-C port, but unlike the 15 Plus, it is a USB 3 port. And Apple says the 15 Pro is the first phone with 10 gigabit per second transfer speeds. As far as the battery life for both the iPhone 15 and 15 Pro go, Apple does not officially state battery capacity, so we have to look at what they say. how long it will last in certain scenarios, such as video playback. They say that the iPhone 15 will last up to 20 hours while playing videos, and the iPhone 15 Plus will last up to 26 hours while playing videos. The iPhone 15 Pro, on the other hand, will last up to 23 hours while playing videos, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max will last up to 29 hours while playing videos. As far as RAM is concerned, this is also something that Apple doesn't disclose, not officially anyway, but from rumors I've heard, and I think they sound reasonable, the iPhone 15 Plus will still have 6 gigs of RAM, while the Pro models will get 8 gigs of RAM. Now, let's talk about the other phones that are sticking around. The iPhone SE is unchanged. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus are sticking around, but they're $100 cheaper. And the iPhone 13 is also $100 cheaper. The iPhone 14 Pro, the iPhone 13 mini, and iPhone 12 have all been discontinued. If you found this helpful, then please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.